So today we're going to be discussing your seventh lord in critical positions. Okay. And this was a question that was asked by somebody on my YouTube post when I said, what interesting topic should I make? So it's an interesting topic. Okay. Although I use much easier technique than this, but it is, part of my current past. Because as you know, like especially when you know Nadi, takes you 5 seconds to know everything about marriage and what marriage is going to bring, what anything is going to bring. But it's okay. I think this is also important if you want to go into the nitty-gritty details of how the seventh lord is going to react. And as always, if you do not know where your seventh lord is placed, what sign it is, what nakshatra it's in, what planets it's with, for that you can go to karasastrology.com, where you'll find my books, reports, consultations, including my new consultation on progression of planets. Progression of planets will give an instant theme about your life, what you're going through and what you're going to be going through. It's even actually more fun than even transits. Okay. And I uploaded a new video on my Nandi Nadi course regarding the journey of planets. Journey of planets, and then I'm going to be doing progressions coming up by today or tomorrow. So now it's a fun part there. But what is, first of all, let's look at the difference between this Parashri concept of lords and then the Nandi Nadi of, just seeing the result. What is going to happen? Like, for example, I always say, it's an absolute waste of time to do any horoscope magic. There's no need for horoscope matching. You can't do nothing with a horoscope matching. Because what you're destined to be with, that's it. You think you're doing horoscope matching and you're selecting the right person. No, either they're going to be with you, or you can have the best scores and both the family can agree on. And if that person is not fitting that person in your birth chart, something will happen where the marriage will break, or the potential of getting into a marriage will break. So when we are looking at yes and no answers of what is to be, we're simply going to look at Venus or Mars. But what seventh lord shows is the conditions that follow. Listen carefully. Is the conditions that follow post-marriage. That's what seventh lord will tell you. Seventh lord cannot deny you marriage. The only way it can deny you marriage if somehow seventh lord, which this video is about, being in a critical situation, is connected with Mars or Venus, meaning Venus rules your seventh house or Mars rules your seventh house. In that case, they're going to do what they're going to do. So what is like a critical situation? Like they were telling me that discuss things like, being combust, being retrograde, exalted, debilitated. And especially one thing you will see when you really truly understand astrology, you will see that debilitation and exaltation, it doesn't truly really even matter. What matters is that an exalted planet shows, or just a sign of a planet. Like, for example, Venus is exalted in Pisces, Venus is debilitated in Virgo. It won't show the strength of your Venus. I can show you so many exalted Venus people in poverty. And Virgo Venus, multimillionaires. But what it simply shows is your surrounding area. That's it. It's like a jacket. Like you could be a multimillionaire, but your jacket is ripped off. Your jacket is dirty. Okay? It's like you have one of those highly sought after fashion brands who make you look like you're homeless, and yet it's like a $1,500 jacket or top you will wear. Okay, so that's all it is. That's all you have to understand. Okay, so when, like for example, wherever seventh lord is placed, it shows the controlling aspect of the seventh house. For example, let's say seventh lord was in the ascendant. what it shows, your life is going to be controlled by the spouse. You'll actually either will enjoy having your spouse make all your decision, what you should wear, what you should eat, where should you invest your money, where should you work, who should you be friends with, who should we like, don't like, what political party we should follow and don't follow. All those decisions will be controlled by the spouse. Some people actually enjoy that because it's like they have taken away that responsibility of their life and just give it to them, and they become subservient. That's okay. Seventh lord being in the second, spouse will control your wealth. Seventh lord in the third, spouse will control the efforts that you're putting and how effort should be putting, and your connection with the siblings and your connection with the outer world. Your self efforts become active. Seventh lord in the fourth house is going to either spouse is either going to be controlling your happiness and comfort or the home. Okay. Or the ability to get the home. Seventh lord is in the fifth house. Your fun, your enjoyment in life is going to be controlled by the spouse. Seventh lord is in the sixth house. Your debts, your enemies, your disputes are not controlled by the marriage. And marriage can also bring about disputes as well. And those disputes especially will be triggered through cousins or between the cousins and you, your maternal aunt, your maternal uncle. Seventh lord in the eighth, spouse is not focused on you. Spouse is going to be, and the marriage, the focus of that person who is your opposite is going to be focused on their own family. And they're going to become very secretive about a lot of things. Marriage brings in sudden transformation. This is actually one of good placements, I would say. Because if, let's say, you're living a dull, boring life, your seventh lord is in the eighth house. As soon as you get married, things just change. Like you're living somewhere in a village in Orissa, in India. Right after marriage, through the spouse, you go to Dubai. And you're living in Abu Dhabi or you're living in Burj Khalifa. Suddenly, the entire life has turned upside down. Seventh lord in the ninth house, what you believe in, your religious belief, your gurus, everything is going to be somehow influenced or controlled by the spouse after marriage. Maybe somebody who you liked following, your spouse now convinces you, no, they're not the right one. This is the right guru. And you may either like it or won't like it, which will be seen through position of your Jupiter, Mars, or Venus, depending upon whose chart are we looking at. Seventh lord is in the 10th house, will activate your career. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean for good. It could also be for bad. But spouse will also make decision about your career. The marriage influences your career, meaning your wife does not want you to travel. Your husband does not want you to travel. Your job was traveling. So now what happens is after marriage, you decide that, okay, I need a change of career where I'm not going to be traveling so much. Now, will the traveling stop or not? That is also seen through the chart. What if your progressed Saturn is with Moon for the next 30 years? I'm sorry, you're going to see a lot of changes or travel in your particular profession. And if they are against that particular notion, then marriage is going to have issues, disputes, or will break if the yoga is there. Seventh lord is in the 11th house. Who you become friends with, social circles, they're going to be influenced by your marriage. Your marriage decides which echelons of society you're going to be with. Like you'll see many times, as soon as a person gets married, their friendships are cut off. And they start making new friendships. Not maybe because the spouse is saying something, but it is that activation of the 7th house that brings in that 11th house related, control of the 11th house related themes. Your desires suddenly change. Your desires are now controlled by the marriage, the spouse. Maybe your desire was to become rich and famous, and now your spouse changes your desire to becoming a monk, going into isolation, off grid. And then seventh lord is in the 12th. Marriage is going to take you, marriage or the spouse is going to control your expenses, donation, investments. Spouse or marriage is going to either take you to foreign lands or will take the person to a foreign place, meaning the spouse. And when your chart doesn't match with their life, this is why we see with the seventh lord in the sixth, eighth, or 12th, it brings in those issues and trouble where separations can happen. Now let's look at the critical part. What if seventh lord is combust? Doesn't matter which house, seventh lord is very close to the sun. Now there's two ways of seeing combustion. If a planet is moving towards the sun and planet has already crossed the sun, if it has crossed the sun, it's in a much better position than if a planet is coming towards the sun, because what happens is now you're going to be under the control. Marriage is under the control of an authority. Now, what is that authority? That authority will either be the spouse themselves or the father or some senior figure who's going to make sometimes a lot of decisions about your marriage. Because what happens is any planet that becomes combust, it's like you're very close to the CEO. Can you imagine if let's say you're just a newly graduate software individual and you have to work and sitting right next to Sundar Pichai at Google, or you have to sit, right next to Jamie Dimon at Chase JP Morgan Bank. Can you imagine the intensity of stress you will have? That I am with the highest individual in the company I'm working in, and you're going to feel like you're not just micromanaged, you are quantumly managed. Because you feel that fear of that king, the authority in front of you. So this is where, and this again, like I said, if it's not controlled by Venus or Mars, then it does not show that marriage is going to be damaged or marriage is not going to happen or marriage could fail. What this simply shows that the marriage is not going to be under the influence of an authority. And depending upon the type of culture you have, like in US, hardly anybody's going to be under the scarcity and fear of their father, because nobody lives with their parents after marriage. People leave at the age of 18. Although now economically, literally people have to be with their parents till the age of 30, 35. That's a different thing. But in here, they won't really care. But you are in a different culture like India, where whether you have a joint family or there's such respect for the father that when father says something that this should be done within the marriage, you need to have a living trust. Now you should invest here. Now you should invest it. You feel like, you kind of feel suppressed by that force. And this is where pretty much the cluster of confusion comes into play within the marriage, because either your spouse will not be happy that our marriage has been controlled, or you, who's having the seventh lord combust, may feel like you're under the authority of the spouse or authority of your father. So this is what pretty much combustion is. Combustion does not say that, okay, money is denied, land is denied, real estate is denied. Those are other things. Now, let's look at retrograde. Seventh lord is retrograde. What does that mean? Seventh lord being retrograde simply means marriage is going to be unconventional. The act of marriage itself is going to be unconventional. Maybe you got married in a courtroom, gave a reception. Maybe you secretly got married, told nobody, because I do a lot of these readings, where boyfriend, girlfriend get married, family doesn't know, but they did it because of the fact, whether it was some visa related thing, whatever. And then they're trying to convince the family, oh, I found this person that is really good. They're well educated, this and that. I want to get married to them. And they're like, oh, okay. So, and then what happens is they're planning their official Indian wedding in 6 months from now. But the unconventional part played out. Like nobody knew when they got married. Sometimes you will see a retrograde seventh house, seventh lord. If let's say it's surrounded with Rahu or it's surrounded with, let's say, Mercury or Moon, a person may desire to have an open marriage. Like the couple will be like very much into having that open modern society like marriage. And this is actually becoming quite common. You might think this is something still a taboo, but it's not. It is quite common because I've come across those things quite a few times. Now, let's say, for example, your seventh lord is at a particular degree. Seventh lord is at a particular degree of known as Myritubhanga. Myritubhanga degree. And I don't know what they are because I use my chart. Because each planet will have, like in each zodiac sign will have their degrees and that they are combust and or not combust and have a Myritubhanga degree. What this simply means, when let's say seventh lord goes in through Myritubhanga degree, you don't get anything out of that particular event or that thing. Okay, like for example, marriage does not provide you with any form of benefits. Or it shows the marriage may provide it, but spouse is not doing anything. Suddenly, spouse's life, they quit their job, they're at home, they can't find work. Yeah, you're making money. Maybe because the Venus and Mars' position the way they were in your birth chart from the ascendant or Jupiter, say, hey, you get money. But because yours is at the Mrityu, seventh lord is at Myritubhanga degree, it's the spouse that is going to deal with certain things that is going to feel like they're not contributing anything within the marriage. People have given a lot of fear to this Myritubhanga degree, but I have seen they don't play out with the Google definitions that you see. Because I have seen people who, after marriage, bought a property, driving a BMW, moved from India to US. Okay, but the thing is, they themselves became the single provider of the family. There's no contribution happening. And even the intimacy would be good if it's not Venus. Because Venus is that bondage. So these are the things you have to see. Now the other, let's look at other critical situation with seventh lord. If seventh lord is hemmed between malefics, let's say your seventh lord is moon. On one side, previous to it, is Rahu. Front of it is Saturn. What does this hemming, this kartari, we call it kartari yoga, what does that show? That shows, first of all, your spouse will have unnecessary fear, which will hinder your marriage. They'll feel like they'll be suspicious about something. Oh my God, I think this person did black magic on me. Oh my God, I saw a black cat go in front of me today. This is not good. We shouldn't do this. And because Saturn is in front, that particular fear causes depression. And workload causes that mental depression to that spouse. And because of that, you get that mental anxiety because it is your moon as well. So moon can cause two-way issues. This is not denying marriage. Because again, this is why I said the Parashri side of astrology will confuse you to no end. When you are doing Parashri astrology, you are looking at Venus. You're looking at Jupiter and Mars. Then you see seventh lord hemmed. Now you see in the Navamsha. Now Venus is in a position where it's hemmed. And now you're trying to come to a conclusion like, is this person going to get married or not married? It's like when you are in Parashri, you have literally you have a trucking business. Why you have a trucking business? Because those trucks are filled with bags of confusion. That's what happens. This is why I say learn Nandi Nadi. Where all of this goes away is disappears. Within 30 seconds, you should know what's happening and what's going to happen about that particular question that was asked. Will I get married or not? Boom, right there. This is the answer, and that is it. Right now, all these things that I'm saying, these are all those nitty-gritty details. If somebody wants to just go deep into it and make a reading really lengthy, okay, well, this is this. But if you really want to know the absolute truth of something, you learn that Nandi Nadi. Now, you saw the hemming of the seventh lord. So you know exactly, it's not just saying that, okay, well, it's kartari yoga. Well, give the meaning of the kartari yoga. Like, for example, let's say we take Mercury. Mercury rules your seventh house. It's somewhere, wherever house it is. But previous to Mercury is Ketu. Next to Mercury is Mars. So what is this seventh lord signifying? Your spouse is going to kill your ego with one word. Your spouse will say something so cutthroat harsh that it will bring that solidarity of the marriage into question. Because Mercury is already bringing, because Ketu is behind Mercury, Mercury is taking a very harsh to the point approach. Mercury is meeting its enemy Mars. That speech will lead to fights. That's what kartari is. So when you see kartari in the birth chart, explain then that, well, you have a kartari yoga. Oh, okay, marriage is not going to happen. No, marriage will happen, but this is what's happening. Now, how long did that take me? As soon as I see this position, how long did that take me? I don't know. What, 15 seconds? 10 seconds? This is that beauty of Nadi. That's how simple it is. Because when you're doing Parashri, you should also have a truck full of aspirins because of the headache it will give you. Now, the other position, like we were also still talking about like retrograde, right? You have to see which house the retrograde planet goes into. Because when the, let's say, seventh lord goes into the sixth house, the seventh lord, marriage, is looking for disputes being retrograde. And marriage's sanity is going to be disturbed by either fights with colleagues, creation of new enemies, or enemies between you and your aunts and uncles. And this is usually will be the case in India, because we have that nuclear family dynamic in India, where even our cousins and aunts and uncles are like our mother and father and cousins. We give them that respect. And this is where those, so you have to see where it's retrograding to. Now, what other critical position? Yes, there's other critical position. For example, let's say your seventh lord is 10th. Seventh lord is 10th from Rahu and Ketu. What happens? Right? Let's say, for example, your Rahu is in the first house. I'm making it simple. Rahu is in the first house, Ketu is in the seventh house. And your seventh lord goes in the 10th house. Now what happens is, as soon as marriage happens, the 10th house starts to give you all kinds of karmic trouble. And what is the solution to that? You either have to take support of Rahu or you have to take support of Ketu. Support of Rahu is if you're in foreign lands. Okay, then it neutralizes that. Support of Ketu. You're either, let's say, doing chartered accountancy, or you're doing Jyotish yourself, or you get 3 dogs in your life. And you will see that neutralizes that effect. So these, majority of the time, I think these would be the more critical points and positions. I'm thinking of, oh, the other thing. Now, this is not really, I'm not saying that this is going to confuse you, but this is something that I also use. The Pada of the seventh house. Have you heard of the Pada system? It's a Jamini system, Jaimini. For those who are watching this for the first time, this is one of the branches of Jyotish that was literally came through Jamini Rishi, was really given birth to by Virumi Maruti in Andhra Pradesh. From that, it came through K and Ra, and then it became worldwide phenomena. And I learned Jamini under one of the best teachers out there, Mark Boney. He is a genius in Jamini. To this day, the way he predicts through Jamini, I haven't seen it. But so now, the Pada of the seventh house, where is it landing? For example, you will hear this in Parashi, especially if you read K.N. Rao's book, Destiny, Yogi, and a Wheel of Time, where K.N. Rao said that whenever a planet's seventh lord goes into the fifth house, it's the marriage is becoming very tough for the individual. Why is that? Because of the Pada system. When seventh lord is in the fifth, it's 11 places from itself. It's going into the 11th place. Now from the fifth house, you count 11 places again. So when you go in the fifth house round, you end up at the third house. So the Pada of the seventh lands in the third, which means it is landing in the third, which is eighth from the eighth. Bhavat Bhavam of the eighth. For example, seventh lord is in the 11th. Where's going to be the Pada of the seventh house? Seventh lord is in the 11th house, 5 places from itself. So now you count 5 places more, lands you in the third house. Or for example, if let's say I have to actually visualize this. Next. Yeah, so let's say seventh lord is in the 12th, which is one of the positions that we said is not good. And also, seventh lord in the 6th, you said it wasn't good. Why? Because of the Pada of these two will land in the 5th house. Now, shouldn't the 5th house be good? Well, the thing is, what happens when the Pada of the marriage lands in the 5th house? One of the spouses, whether it will be the husband or the wife, will treat you like a child. You'll feel completely inferior in front of them. They will say things to you that, why did you do this? I didn't tell you to do this. Don't do this again without my permission. See, imagine how you feel as a wife receiving that kind of taunt from your husband, or being a husband receiving that taunt from your wife. Because you are being treated like a child within the marriage. So I think these are the more critical things that I've discussed, or that we can discuss. I don't know what else to say, because again, transits are something that are going to come and go. Dasha has nothing to do with the critical position of the 7th lord. So yeah, hopefully this has given you great insights into the 7th lord, and you can now confidently look at a chart and say something. Although if you really want to say something with confidence, learn Nadi Nadi, which I'm currently teaching. You can join anytime and learn all the combinations and videos. And I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be now going into the predictive part. When you see it, boom, there it is. Okay. Now, there is one more thing I guess we can discuss. But I can't discuss because you have to see what exactly is there. Like, for example, if 7th lord goes into the second house. Okay? And that seventh Lord is with Rahu in the second house. And what happens is right after marriage, in the east direction, either you put alcohol or medicines or any form of cleaning chemical, or you start putting garbage, like you bought a garbage can with a plastic bag because you're like, we never have a trash can in this side. We're always sitting here watching TV and we want to have something to put. You put that there. And now the disaster starts within your marriage. Now, this is something is more like astro vastu. So this is something that I can't just explain seventh Lord here and there, because then I have to now talk about all the scenarios with not just the house, but the planets. So that, it was destined for you to do that. So that is a difficult position, because with that difficult position, it activates something that you just did it. Like, for example, I don't know if I showed you guys how I put a lotus flower on a wall and my mother got sick. The moment I took that lotus flower off the wall, doctor calls me in half an hour of me taking that off, saying that your mother's good to go home. She can check out. You can pick her up in half an hour. This is the knowledge. The other thing, yes. When it comes to, let's say, matching of horoscope, if you really want to do it, forget the horoscope matching. You know what you should do? Take the first name of the wife, take the first name of the husband, see the soul number of that particular name. Soul number. Not the, I guess in India they call it Mulank and Bhagyank, but like your day of birth and your destiny number. We're not looking at that. We're looking at the soul urge number. Because until, see, soul urge, what does it mean? Soul urge simply mean what the soul is desiring from its vibration, from your name. So the soul urge of your name needs to match with the soul urge of your spouse. So no matter how bad the combination are, if you and your spouse have that same or compatible soul number, your aim in life will be the same. And that's what always is going to keep you intact. But this is a whole new other discussion that we'll have to do one day. Okay? Tab tak ke liye aagya dijiye. Namaskar. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe below so you don't miss these type of videos. And if you want to know everything about your chart or Nandi Nadi, you can go caresastrology.com or carechannel.thinkeffect.com. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.